listening to the Straight to Video podcast with Rob Lane.
All right. Hope everyone is doing good, and thanks for checking out this new episode of the Straight to Video podcast. Today's show is the first episode to feature two guests, and I'm super happy to welcome Kelly and Lewis of the Dollyrots to the show. I've been a fan of their band since way back in around 2008 in the good old MySpace days, which was such a great way to hear new bands. Just simply click on someone's profile and a song would be playing. The tune I heard was Because I'm Awesome from the band's second album of the same name, and I was immediately in. Not only are they great songwriters and a great power pop punk band, they have one of the greatest DIY ethos of any band I've ever known. They have their own little cottage industry and have been able to make a career in music for around 20 years on their own terms. The band made their UK live debut in 2010 and since then have built up a great loyal fan base over in this country. They'll be back with their good friends Bowling for Soup and also Lit for a full UK tour, which is currently rescheduled now for next year, but it will certainly be great to see them back over here. In the meantime though, they've stayed busy during this past crazy 12 months and kept busy being parents. Did I mention this pair have been a couple since around the time they met in 8th grade of school? They also released their aforementioned album Because I'm Awesome on gatefold picture disc vinyl for the first time, which you can pick up from their website at dollyrots.com, along with their current album Daydream Explosion. This chat was super fun, as it always is with this pair. We do bounce around quite a bit, but we cover a lot of cool stuff, particularly the band's time in LA and Hollywood, where they really found their feet as a band and began to see some great exposure and success. You'll notice how in sync this pair are, as they will finish each other's sentences, which is great, and their energy is pretty infectious, so I hope you all enjoy it. So here we go with my straight to video chat with Lewis and Kelly of the Dollyrots.
Windows down, the pedal to the ground. 'Cause tonight, I'm going wild, wild, wild. I got my jam on repeat. I'm turning left on 6th Street. Everybody tonight going wild, wild, wild. Cause she's got to go. Set it free like a caged animal. Yeah, she's got to go. Set it free like an sweaty bodies bumping, eyes closed beaming.
How you both doing? It's great to see you.
We're good, man. Like we just
sure miss being in a sweaty tour
we're
bus.
stuck at home.
On stage, meeting people and seeing places.
Yeah. I mean, we're doing all right. It's like it's Groundhog Day, but
yeah,
it's not a bad day to relive.
No.
And we're having a lot of like really good times with the kids. We've been really close, and so it's been cool.
That's pretty invaluable, really. Probably something you look back on later on like, holy shit.
It has been a gift for us in so many ways.
Yeah, it's been good, but at the same time, very confusing.
Yeah.
Like, who am I and what am I supposed to do? Because I'm not doing what I used to do.
I guess I have objectives now.
It is weird. Nobody's like prepared for this. It's crazy.
I still really like him.
This is like the sign of how strong a relationship is.
Yeah, it really is. Like, I mean, any other person would have been like, what's wrong with you? I'm going to go spend some time over there. But yeah, man.
Thanks ever so much for doing this for us, though, guys. I'm glad we finally got it all hooked up.
Oh, Rob, that's why I was finally like, we've been wanting to do it. And I was like, Dana, I need you to just help me. Like, please just make an appointment.
Since we've been home, we're just kind of like,
The thing is, I started the radio show on Sirius XM Underground Garage right before all of this happened pretty much. And so, now I have this other thing that I do 5 days a week, and it's a 4-hour radio show 5 days a week. And we still haven't sent our kids back to school.
Where are they now?
They're in the house with my mom. We have to arrange.
I don't know where they're on the street.
Yeah, they're fine.
They're doing great.
They're 4 and 7. We can leave them alone now.
It's like Peppa Pig. They're in like a mud puddle somewhere.
But yeah, it's strange.
How has the creative process been? A lot of people have said they've kind of just dried up.
Honestly, nothing. Like, we try and
literally
not one song in a year.
45 minutes ago, I wrote the first verse and chorus that I've written in the last 4 months.
Yeah.
And
you know why?
Was like,
because my mom's here and we're not parenting. With the kids not in school, like, it has been a challenge.
Yeah. You know what? And like it's okay because with our band and with other bands that have been around a long time, we have such a huge backlog of like, back catalog and old demos and stuff that we can just put out now. It's kind of like keeping things
we just
going.
Released Because I'm Awesome on vinyl for the first time.
Saw that.
That helped us coast a little.
It's in like England's like Amazon. Like you can get it on Amazon in England. It's like crazy. Yeah. We can rely on that for a while.
Yeah.
It's not going to last forever.
Was that a fairly smooth transition from going from that being out on one label? Did you own everything?
No.
No.
But fortunately, Blackheart Records has a pretty good relationship with Stevie Van Zandt of the E Street Band. He runs Wicked Cool.
Who's going to argue with him?
Nobody.
Well, I mean, it's Joan Jett saying...
It's Joan Jett and Kenny Laguna and Stephen Van Zandt. So, I mean, really, it was like, fine.
They're all friends.
I'm not sure what they did.
Yeah, let's open this bottle of whiskey and just figure this out.
They're like, listen, capiche, we're going to do this. Hey, and I was like, handshake. I was like, really, like, it was really nice because we get to work with these people that have believed in us. Yep. And now, this record gets like a brand new life for a minute.
Is that everything out on vinyl now?
Yes.
Yeah, well, no. The only one that isn't out on vinyl.
It's all on vinyl.
I guess it's all on vinyl.
It's all on vinyl.
Yeah.
I don't know if we even have all of them.
It's not all in print.
No, like a little messed up. The second Blackheart record is that we have 3.
We have 3 copies.
That's
and
it.
Like if you go on like eBay or whatever, it's like $700. I'm like
I could do $700. Let's sell one of them.
Yeah, like we've been really lucky with the back catalog stuff. Yeah. Everybody.
I do, with the vaccinations happening finally and all that, I am feeling more inspired right now than I have in a year. Like nearly a year.
Even though less than 2 weeks ago, we found out that our UK tour for this year is going to come next year.
In a whole nother year.
We were going to go out with Bowling for Soup and Lit. We found out about that last fall, and it was like, all right, something to look forward to.
So excited.
We kind of knew by around Christmas time that it was like...
As much as the fans are gutted.
Yeah.
We are more so.
And dude, like the second I heard UK variant, I was like,
I forget that.
Why? I mean, we're looking forward to that too. I mean, time passes so quick, man. It's all right.
Have you ever seen Lit play live? Have they ever crossed paths with you?
No,
but you know what? A couple of the guys from that band, from my understanding, run the Slide Bar in Fullerton, which is in Orange County.
Always play.
Which, like, we will either end a tour or, it'll be the next to last show because it's like in Southern California. And those shows always go off. But as you may expect, there are flames painted all over the walls because A, it's Orange County, and B, it's lit. Yeah, I love that place. They just have a really good sounding room, and we like playing there. And
I didn't realize it was like a venue. I just thought it was like just a little like dive bar kind of place.
Oh no, it has multiple rooms.
No, they got a
full kitchen.
They got like a hip hop room, and then they got a karaoke room, and then they have a
rock and roll room. Like
their
rock and roll room it's a small-ish room, maybe 150 cap. Like I think it's
max.
Tight.
It's max 200, but it feels good.
But it's they know how to do a PA in a room that's like just
that stage
right.
is like it's high, but it's really resonant, so it's like super beefy.
It always
so like when you go gong gong, it goes boom boom. Like feels good.
Yeah.
There.
That's going to be a great tour in those rooms which were booked for it.
So the venues were familiar with the brand.
Yeah, it's all like the coastal places, isn't it?
Yeah. So how cold is the water in May?
I wouldn't do it, and I'm used to cold weather.
I did go skinny dipping in the North Sea in October.
In Aberdeen.
Well, you'll be fine then, I think.
Well, the good part about it was like we were supporting...
All the fans were still there.
We were supporting BFS.
Eric Chandler and I went in, and then Lewis came to...
So there were still people from the show outside of the venue.
At what time?
It was after the show.
It was like 12:30 maybe or something.
I mean, it was probably about midnight.
It was around midnight, and like we all just came up with an amazing idea on the bus. Like Eric and Kelly were like,
there's definitely whiskey involved.
We're gonna go swimming. We're gonna go swimming. And they ran out onto the thing and stripped down butt naked.
That venue in Aberdeen is the venue, and then there's a road and a sidewalk and these steps down to the beach, and then you get down to the beach and you got to cross the beach to get into the water.
Was it a beach though? We don't have many beaches.
No,
It was rocky. But it was a beach.
I wouldn't want to run across it barefoot, but you did.
I didn't feel anything.
And so
but joy.
I felt nothing. So she's just like throwing her clothes.
And
I'm like running after her. I'm like,
what are you doing?
Make sure everything's gonna be okay. And then there's all these people over there that have been
waiting
at
for
the
autographs.
and she's butt naked except for the thong. And then her and Chandler are just like,
which I saved that like beat up old thong for memories.
And
when I pick underwear in the morning, I see them and I remember that night.
It was kind of amazing.
I'm just imagining Eric. He probably still had his cap on or something.
I think he might have. Yeah.
That's right. He's like naked except no, he had his like boxer briefs.
He was
on.
wearing his boxers.
But like I'm so glad it was in the time of like really shitty iPhone.
I've never
photos,
seen a photo.
because like you know how they have like how you can like take nighttime pictures now?
Yeah.
There would have been so many Kelly bare ass shots. Like
just on TikTok, like kind of repeating.
Oh,
every time.
God.
it would have been like in repeat or like GIFs or whatever. Like
But you know, that's the thing. Like, I would never do that now. Like everybody has a camera in their pocket.
Yeah.
That's a freedom that's gone.
Back in my day,
We used to skinny dip in front of groups of people.
with an iPhone too. Like
You had a film camera on that tour.
I did.
That's how long ago that was.
Well, no, you got me that ironically.
It was.
I've been trying to trace things back because Kelly, you're from New Jersey originally, and Lewis, you're from Texas, which I didn't realize that.
He's actually from Ecuador.
Well, okay, here's the thing. Okay, so my dad was an exchange student in the 70s with a family from Texas. He's Ecuadorian from, South America. I was born in Ecuador, and when I was around 2 years old, my mom and dad went and moved to Texas so my dad could like go to school and they could like establish a life in the US. So I grew up in Texas from age 2 to 10 or something like that.
Yeah. College Station. Your dad has a PhD.
Yeah.
And then Austin.
And then Austin. So in turn, fast forward like 15 years or whatever, we're like going on tour with BFS. And all of a sudden I'm like, oh my gosh, I have so much in common with you.
Like, I'm a Texas boy.
I grew up in Texas too.
Was that the first time you'd been back, or had you toured there quite a few times?
Well, yeah. I mean, we had gone through.
Texas has been good to us.
We had our.
More so since Bowling for Soup.
Before we met Bowling for Soup, we'd already been touring hard for 5 years in the U.S. So Texas, it's right between California and New York. And you got to hit New York and you got to hit Texas. So like, I mean, we were already like rolling in Texas by the time we met them. But it's become even more of like a home for us, I mean, Dallas is like, we've talked about like getting a house in Dallas, like it's like, because we have so many friends.
And then we realized it wouldn't be healthy.
How old was you when you headed to Florida? Was you both similar ages?
I was 6 weeks old.
Oh, right. Okay. So there's no memory of New Jersey.
I mean, I still have a lot of family there.
The thing is, her family's really tight. And so she'd always go up to New Jersey.
I would go for a couple weeks every summer. Yeah. Well, my parents would be like, peace out, you crazy little child. But yeah, my mom and dad moved to Florida because my mom's dad was a Jersey City cop in Jersey City. And her mom was a nurse. Then my grandpa
Jersey
became
City, which was like super rough.
Yeah,
imagine the roughest city in the world.
I always thought New Jersey was like super chilled and just outside of Manhattan. That was the
parts.
No.
I got it all wrong.
My grandpa became a private security guard for the mayor of Jersey City.
I don't even know if you should be talking about this.
Well, then suddenly my grandparents moved to Florida to get away from things and retire.
Somebody probably said like, it would be terrible if something happened to your family.
Wow.
May have been some Sopranos stuff or something. Who knows? But my parents decided to move to Florida with me. I was a baby, and they took a train so they could bring their car, which apparently was a piece of crap. Hold on, I'm getting there. So they take it's called an auto train. So it's a train that went down the East Coast. You put your car on it and you can bring some gear, and they moved on the train. So I'm there. My mom just had a baby 6 weeks ago. I'm probably screaming and crying. And my dad notices, he goes to the bar car, as one would. And he's hanging out with Todd Rundgren and the band. Dad, he gets plastered, apparently.
Because Todd Rundgren and his band had just bought a bunch of fancy cars.
They bought a bunch of fancy cars.
And they decided to move them to Florida.
So they wouldn't get rusty.
And they happened to be in the bar car.
And so my mom's, like, she should be telling the story, but she was sitting in, like, one of the cars breastfeeding a brand new baby, and an older man couldn't sleep. And so he struck up a conversation, and he was a pediatrician and all the stuff. And it was okay for my mom, but I know in her brain she was just stewing. And then the next day, this would have been in like August, I guess, September. It was hot, gross. They finally get there, and Todd and all his dudes are getting their like cool ass cars, and they would take the car off one at a time, and then people would go get in their car. Well, my dad was like, Maureen?
No. The car that they brought down
was not one of my dad's favorite cars.
Was not Todd Rundgren's car.
No, it was like a beat up, I don't remember, like a Buick, or like it might have been the Buick, the white Buick that my mom
like, you know,
trashed.
Those big ass American like station wagon type.
So my dad said, Maureen, we are not claiming our car. So he made her sit under a tree with the baby until all those dudes left, and they were the last people to get in the car because he didn't want them to see his car.
That's some bullshit, by the way. I would just like, well, I don't know. I mean, like I'd be passed out.
I don't know.
Was someone like saying, who does this car belong to?
Yeah, and nobody claimed it. My dad did stop drinking by the time I was 3. So I never saw that version of my dad, although I really hope in heaven there's beer and I can drink with him just once or twice.
Did he go to any Todd Rundgren shows after that?
I've never met him, but our producer, John Fields, also loves him. And I play so much Todd Rundgren stuff on my radio show. I feel like my mom should get to meet him with me.
Hey, Kelly, what radio show?
Sirius XM, Channel 21.
Yeah. No, honestly, like for Fields, our producer, who's been instrumental literally and figuratively, you know, the development of our music, Todd Rundgren is like way up here. You know, it's like the Beatles and Rundgren.
Yeah.
So there might be a little Rundgren influence in some of the production of our stuff.
There definitely
is. I can appreciate that.
John Fields' resume is just insane.
He's so cool.
Well, first of all, he's a genius. You know, he manages to make like a scrappy little punk band sound like $1 million.
The way we record now is we track everything right here. Lewis engineers
this space,
all of it right here.
This all gets
not usually. Those drums are for fun and ideas, but all the rest of it, I mean, we track right here, and then we finish it with him. And
so typically, what we do, I mean, sometimes if like during virus time or pre-virus time, we would just like send him the tracks, and then we would work over like, you know, FaceTime or whatever. But typically what we do is we do all the basic tracks here, beam it to him, then we fly to him.
And we spend a good week.
And then we spend like a week, or 10 days or whatever, putting together the record. But a lot of times the demo guitars or bass or
we keep almost all
vocals.
of it.
I mean, on the last record on Daydream, I'd say a good 70% of the lead vocals that were cut in this room ended up on the record.
But we've been doing that since Barefoot and Pregnant.
Yeah, we started with
a few records.
We started with Barefoot and Pregnant.
But it was out of need. I was pregnant, obviously. And now we're, you know, parenting a lot of the time. And so we need to catch the time when we can. And we want the time with him to be creative, not like mundane, like record that guitar part again.
It's like, let's place the guitar mic. It's like, man, I don't got time for that.
We don't have time for that. Like, we already did that. Like, let's do the stuff on top.
The way we got it set up here is like, there's a channel for everything and they're always open. So I can just
pick up
the bass and it's always on.
Yeah.
You know, I can always pick up the guitar and it's on. If she wants to sing, she just jumps back there and it's on. So at any moment, it's just like, I feel like adding a guitar part. Boom, done, ready. And honestly, the first take, we keep 90% of the time.
That's pretty impressive that it's the vocals that manage to stay, because you would think when you're in with a producer, they might push you even more and want to get more out of it. But do you think it's because you've got to nail a good part, because you got to sort the kids out very shortly?
For me, when I get to sing, it's like I get to visit my true self inside. Like it's like, I don't know, maybe people journal or they run marathons or they do these things. But like when I get to sing my music, I feel most myself, aside from being a mother. And so I freaking nail it every time now. I just can't.
Well,
and the other thing is I don't really want anybody to tell me how to change it either. If John told me to do something, I'd do it, but he never does.
He'll tell you. First of all, we've done this enough. That 10,000 hour rule is like kicking in. But then on top of that, we've done it with him so much that I know kind of what his instinct would be. So when I cut a guitar part, he's like in the back of my head.
He's there.
He's like
he's imaginary. He's like the imaginary little guy.
And he's just like telling me like, hey, that kind of sucked.
He was like, that wasn't good enough.
You got to do that. Because like, dude, it's brutally honest.
But Lewis does that to me while I'm tracking vocals. Like he'll sit here and in the way that a husband could help to move his partner without creating terrible tension, he does try to criticize in a,
you know, like it's like I'll be sitting here,
good way.
I'll have like one ear on, one ear off, and she'll be cutting her vocal so I can hear her in the room and I'm hearing her through the thing, and she'll do it and I'll be like, you can do that better, do it again.
And I just swallow my pride and I listen to my husband and I do it again.
You don't listen to your husband. It's because it's like
it's your bandmate, but it is a little more complicated.
It's like, you know if it's good or not. And
I usually know too.
And dude, 99% of the time
I'll say, oh, I need to do that again.
And then I'll be like, yep.
and then sometimes I'll say I need to do that again. And he'll be like, no way. That's it.
Yeah. There are times where she thinks it sucked. And I'm like, that's the one. And then you just keep it. And it might not be perfect.
But it balances out.
But it feels, there's a feel, you know, because sometimes when something is like just a little wrong, it fits the feeling of the part.
I mean, we don't go for perfection.
It's like a very subtle thing. But, you know, that's why like, I don't know. We could collectively like produce the shit out of a band. We can tell the difference between like a good take and a bad take. You know, and we just look at each other and be like, even if it's
it kind of makes you like, you know this, because I mean, people are listening, but we can see Rob right now. And you know, when like you hear something, you kind of go,
oh, in your ear,
you like,
you know this?
You just kind of cock your head a little. And you're like, it's like, that was wrong. Like, that can't stay.
I've seen Jarrett do that too.
Oh yeah.
One common thread between all of us, between Jarrett and Fields and the really talented people that we've known or worked with, when you hear something bad, you kind of cock your head a little. I don't know if you're right-handed, you cock
or if you're
to
like
the left.
it's like you're trying to like.
You're just like
better.
I don't know.
I mean, I do it to myself. So
I do it to myself all the time. I do it to myself in normal conversation.
Yeah, I'm doing it to myself right now.
When did you guys first hook up with John Fields? Because had he been, I know he'd worked with Pink prior to you, right?
Yeah, well, no.
No, actually, we predated Pink.
Okay, so do you want to know the story?
Do the fast version.
We'll try and do the fast version of the story. All right.
Meeting John's a long story.
Here's the way it went. We had just recorded a demo, and due to the demo, we were on the verge of getting signed to a publishing deal with a publisher in Los Angeles.
Awesome.
Which is like a big deal for a baby band, because it's like, oh my God, they're going to give us an advance? Whoa, we get to like go on tour or something?
Well, but the thing is, at that time, too, it was more important for us to get a publisher than a record label, because it meant that we would have our songs in film and TV. And that is the way to fund a band.
You guys understood that process at that point?
Yeah. You know
why you read the book.
Oh, I read
Passman.
the Donald Passman's book about the music biz.
He had just finished it.
I was like, you know what? We should get a publishing deal. Anyway, we're like flirting with this publisher. And one day, one of the guys from the publishing company, the head guy who we love, he called us and he was like, hey,
John Anderson.
There's a blind audition at this place in Santa Monica. Can you be there in an hour? I can't tell you what it's for. And we were like, all right, we'll be there in an hour.
So we go tell our bosses, oh my God, we got to go.
Hey, we got to go. Hey, we're at our day jobs and we're just like, hey,
they said, go.
And so us and our drummer bring our gear, our amps, our everything. We showed up at this like weird office in Santa Monica, and we parked on the street, and like we probably got a ticket because I'm sure we screwed up. We go in, there's like a lobby area, and there are these people that are obviously in bands waiting there or whatever. And we get pulled into this room. And there's people sitting there at like a couple makeshift desks. It looked like
folding tables.
I felt like I was in like a high school classroom or something like that. It was just like whatever. And they had this like band set up in the corner. And they were like, play your most garage rocky song.
Like, we're not really a garage band.
I'm like, I'm not a garage band or whatever. But we played Feed Me, Pet Me. Because we were like, that's the most annoying song we can think of. And so we play it. We're done. We leave. About 45 minutes later, we get a call. They're like, hey, do you think you guys could be in Hollywood tomorrow? And we were like, yeah, of course we can be in Hollywood tomorrow. What for? And they're like, so they're considering you to be in this new Hewlett-Packard commercial, right? And we were like,
whoa,
what does that mean? Like, what? And then over the course of the next hour, it all got ironed out. And it was like, okay, I guess we got a publishing deal and a commercial.
Because
right?
the only way that it would work is if like we got the publishing deal through the publisher to do the thing. So we ended up getting a commercial and a publishing deal.
So we got forced into the publishing deal, which we wanted anyway, by landing this commercial where they just wanted a shitty band.
They didn't mean garage. They meant crap.
They wanted it to sound like
it
crap.
was teenagers in a literal garage, the commercial. It's on YouTube.
Yeah, you can look it up. It's like Dollyrots HP, whatever. And so
we go to record they wanted to re-record so they could own the master.
Right.
So they're like, can you go to Capitol Records?
The building.
Yeah.
Can you go to Capitol Records Studios?
The stack of pancakes.
Which is a legendary, it's like Frank Sinatra recorded there. You know, it's like a big deal. Like the Beatles recorded there. You know?
Poison recorded there, I think.
Yes, probably.
Probably in Studio A, but they got Studio B, which is still a super nice studio, to record the crappiest garage band
sounding thing ever.
So we showed up the next day, and there's like wardrobe people and like whatever. We walk in, and a guy walks up to us. This guy with dark hair.
Very quietly, he leans in. He's like, "Tell me you have a full album to record today." And we were like, "Yes."
And the thing was, we had been recording ourselves. We had paid a bunch of money to have other people record
to do
us.
like demos.
We had been playing live 2 or 3 times a week in LA for like the last 6 months. Like we were like banging
ready.
We were so ready to record. Like we had like a solid album worth of stuff, right? So
that guy was John Field.
That guy was Albert Einstein.
Yeah. But he was the engineer on the session because it was a Minneapolis-based production company. He's from Minneapolis. They were old friends of his.
Yeah.
So long story short,
Harder Fuller Productions, which is hilarious.
It took maybe 45 minutes to get that like crappy commercial that they needed. And they said, well, we've got it booked out till midnight. So if you guys want to play around and have some fun, you can use the studio. And we were like,
then we cut 12 songs in 4 hours.
And that's Eat My Heart Out. That's it. We played every song twice.
And so we played every song twice. This is what we did.
It was one pass.
We played one pass through instrumental with her on bass. Yep. Then another pass where I played the second guitar and she
I did
sang.
the vocal. That's it.
That's the record.
What was it that made John Field say originally, have you guys got an album to record?
He knew that he had the studio for that whole evening.
And he hustles. And that
he's
guy,
the hardest working, awesomest dude ever.
And he's just a genius. So he was just like, I think he was just like, all right, well, this band.
He's like, if we got 8 hours.
Like, I might as well cut a record because he works fast. I mean, that dude is like,
he still works fast.
Like he's still like that with us. But like, that was the first one.
So then when it came time to do our next record, of course, we wanted to record with him. He was quite busy with the Jonas Brothers, though.
By that point, he'd done like Pink and whatever. And Mandy Moore.
Miley Cyrus.
He did like.
He got into the Disney circuit.
Andrew WK before that.
Yeah.
Like, whatever.
He's done Soul Asylum as well, I think, hasn't he?
Yeah, he still records them a lot.
Yeah, because the Minneapolis guys. We met.
He moved back to Minneapolis.
Yeah. He's just a super cool dude, and we met him in the most natural way. Like, it's not like we
were meant to be together.
I mean, it was literally like, hey, you got an album?
Yeah.
We were like,
let's be friends.
Let's do it. He just made that record sound perfect. And then ever since then,
How long had you been out in Hollywood at that point?
It was only about 1.5 years.
Yeah.
We had moved out late
January
2002. And so this happened in like 2003. And then that record came out the next year.
We self-released it. Then it got picked up by Panic Button, which was the sub-label of Lookout Records, which was like a dream.
There was just
we stumbled into a lot of amazing stuff working every night and day.
It's like, because Lookout was like my like dream label, like when I was growing up, and so, Lookout's looking at us.
Was you like one of those punk rock label kids where whatever the label put out, I'm going to buy it on the label?
The way things were structured then was like, it wasn't really so much about, of course there were individual artists, but within the independent sort of label punk rock community, you could rely on certain labels to be like tastemakers, and like 80% of what was on Lookout was awesome. You knew that like...
You knew you'd probably like it.
I knew that if something was on Epitaph, I would like it. I knew if something was on SST, I would like it. I knew if something was on, even like...
Sub Pop, maybe.
Sub Pop.
More than likely.
50-50 chance I would like it,
if something's on Fat Records these days, 50-50.
Right. You know, I mean, even
But back then,
at that point, it's like Geffen had good bands.
Geffen
was like, you know, Geffen was
like another dream label.
Geffen was an awesome label, you know. So I think people at that time could be, you know, you could rely on a label to be pretty consistent in terms of the releases.
Like, well, Motown. Did you like Motown back in the day? You're gonna like Motown records if you like Motown.
I think this is the first time ever that Lookout has been like, you know, compared to Motown.
It was for us though.
But Lookout was our Motown.
Labels put out music for the people that like.
Think about the bands that we're on Lookout. It's like Green Day, the Donnas, the Mr. T Experience,
Operation Ivy, Rancid.
Yeah, there you go. That's the punk rock Bible, like right there, you know.
They all fall within a category, but they're all kind of different sounding bands as well. So that's cool that a label can kind of cultivate that kind of music, all be kind of different, but you know that you're going to enjoy all those bands.
Yeah, I think a lot of it had to do with like a similar mindset, because these people had like, and because they had a similar mindset, they also had like interpersonal relationships, like where like
a lot of them were friends.
They understood each other, and that's why they supported each other. I mean, we found that that's something that happens in California, which doesn't happen everywhere. You know, I mean, we found that in LA. Those labels were mainly based in San Francisco, the Bay Area, but for sure in California, you can find like a tribe of people that love the same type of music.
Is that why you went to the West Coast and not New York City?
Part of the reason we didn't go to New York is it was pretty close to September 11th. And so, you know, housing prices were shaky. The scene wasn't the same.
Well, it was also like always going to be harder.
Yeah.
You know, it's like it's harder to find a place to live. It's more expensive. You know, I mean, we just looked at
we looked at the Bay Area.
We looked at San Francisco
as well, but there's no way we could afford it.
I can't live in cold weather.
And that.
You know, the Bay Area is a lot like probably southern England or something. I'm like, man, I can't do that. It's like got gray skies and rain.
Hoodies every day. It's weird.
Need palm trees.
Yeah, we only live where palm trees are.
We settled in LA. We really loved it. And we always did. I mean, I still love LA. There are just so many good things about it. It's just, you know, for us, it's like, it's not really the ideal place to like raise kids. LA is like a very like small town feel, even though it's a big city. And so we just got very like tuned into that town.
It's where we grew as a band.
It made us better because we saw so many bands.
What was that Kiss or Kill scene, which I've only heard like little bits of, but you were a huge part of that.
Movie about it, man. It's on Netflix.
It tells the whole story.
Go watch In Heaven There Is No Beer.
You know, we had been working our day jobs. I worked at the Science Museum. Lewis worked filling vials with pipettes in a lab every day.
You know, it's weird. Like I was testing viruses. I was testing samples for viruses.
You're probably in demand.
And I'm sure I could go right back to that job right now because I'm sure they're getting slammed.
Yeah. But, you know, we were working day jobs, but we went out almost every single night to watch bands, to play, you know, to just see what we could find. And eventually we found our tribe of people, and it was this scene called Kiss or Kill. There was another one tangentially called Mr. T's Bowl. It was around a venue called Mr. T's Bowl. Kiss or Kill kind of moved around a bit, but, you know, we found a group of like 30 bands, and we all would help each other. You know, we would book shows and book other bands from the scene. Well, we would all go to each other's shows all the time.
The thing was, if you have 30 bands, right?
Yeah.
And everyone supports each other and they all go to the shows, you're guaranteed like a couple hundred people
at your shows
just with the band people.
But it was so fun.
And like, but people that are enthusiastic about music, because like you're not, I mean, of course you're like in it to make it. Everyone's in it to make it.
Which part of the documentary about it focuses a lot on that, which wasn't the whole goal. It was so a community, but
it was about like experiencing music. And the more times you see a band, obviously, the more you learn their songs and the more you can appreciate it. And it's like, dude, by the fourth time that you see one of these bands play, it's
you like it.
You love their hit song, you know?
It's like when you're on tour with a band, like,
oh, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
They suddenly become your favorite band.
Yes.
You know, you become a fan. That's what that scene did. It made us,
Top 40 radio.
Or, Top 40 radio.
Because if you're going to hear the song 5 times a day, you're going to like it.
Yeah. Or if you hear a lie multiple times, you're going to believe. But yeah, like we grew to just appreciate each other more and more as a community. And that gave us all strength. like the more that somebody goes off at your show, the more it inspires you to keep pushing forward and being better. And, you know, you just do that for each other. And it was a really beautiful thing, you know, and it was very rare.
Was that a reaction to what let's call it the mainstream of Hollywood?
Oh, yes, 100%. The point was, it was anti-West Hollywood, Sunset Strip, pay to play.
Yeah.
You know,
because that's what we were doing at first. We didn't know anywhere else to go. So we were doing like ticket selling to play shows at the Whiskey A Go-Go and
like the Whiskey
Knitting Factory.
The Whiskey would say like, hey, here's 100 tickets.
Sell them for $8 each.
$8 a piece. The night you play, you get a 30-minute set amongst 10 other bands on Friday night.
But you have to hand them $800
cash
before sound check, or you don't play.
Seriously.
Unreal.
Because if you sold your 100 tickets at $8 a piece, no problem. But come on, like, you know.
Well, you're like asking people at work to buy your ticket.
Which we did. We would ask people on the street coming out of shows to buy the tickets. We did that hustle.
We were hustling.
Yeah.
We were hustling, man. But like the thing is, like, I would never do that now because I'm ethically against.
Yeah.
It's weird. I guess the promoters would justify it in the way that, oh, it'll get people to come and see you and all this kind of thing. But it doesn't need to be that way. And it's probably just some crazy mixed bill of like...
No, it was just random bands. Didn't make any sense.
Paying for the privilege of playing this venue.
Yeah, it was strange.
I don't know. In the end, I think we got the most out of LA that we possibly could have. We got to establish our roots. We got to see so much really good music.
Because everybody tours through LA too. As kids growing up in Florida, that's not a thing. We didn't get to see a lot of the bands.
It's like, dude, you could just be like, all right, I'm going to see Fear tonight. Tomorrow, I'm going to go see Cheap Trick. The next day, I'm going to go see some pop thing. The next day, I'm going to go see Soul Asylum. The next day, you know, like, because
there's always, before COVID, there was always a show every night in LA. It didn't matter what day of the week, but that's not something that happens, you know, in the middle of Florida as kids. So we definitely took advantage of that too.
Well, because Florida is America's penis, and nobody wants to go all the way down into the penis.
To go all the way back up.
You don't want to get under the taint.
So do you get to see many concerts when you were kids?
My first one was with my dad. It was Billy Joel. My second one was the Beach Boys in Chicago. And the first shows I went to see on my own was like No Doubt, the Toadies live.
We went to No Doubt together.
Rob Zombie.
I saw the Foo Fighters on their first tour, and they had the Amps opening, so that was Kim Deal's new band. I wanted to go say hi to Dave Grohl when he was hanging out next to the dumpster smoking behind the venue, but I didn't, and I should have.
You should have.
That was dumb.
I was at Reading Festival in 1995 when the Foo Fighters played their very first gig, but I couldn't get in the tent. It was so packed.
Yeah, I mean, anything Nirvana related, I'm a fan of. You know, that's just mandatory because they're the best band ever in the history of the world.
Was they the band that changed your life?
Yeah, because like they're the band that made me want to play guitar, and I learned to play guitar by learning. I didn't get lessons or something. I just by ear I learned how to play Nirvana songs because I was like, oh, a power chord, I can move this everywhere. And then if I move it in certain places, it sounds like that part where Kurt plays that part.
It's magic.
Taught myself, it was like, whoa, In Bloom, dun, 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 dun. Like I just moved this little shape around and I could play In Bloom. Holy crap, you know? And plus it wasn't like super fast punk rock. You know, it's like slowed down punk rock, so it's like easier to play like as a kid, you know, like I'm like 15 or whatever. And so it was just a good like primer for learning about, you know, music. And then in turn, that band, you know, part of like Kurt's philosophy was to lift up other bands, which, you know, I mean.
So then we learned about the Vaselines and Buzzcocks and Dinosaur Jr. and.
Right, exactly. So like it turns you on to other stuff, and then you spread your wings a little, your punk rock wings, and then all of a sudden you're like, holy crap, the Sex Pistols were crazy. You know, like, but yeah, it's kind of like you have to like learn the history to really get music sometimes.
It was the same when I was listening to bands. I'd read the interviews of my favorite bands of the time, and they just keep mentioning all these bands time and time again.
Yeah. I think when a band is more successful, if they're responsible, they take it upon themselves to lift up their friends, you know, and they'll mention their friends in interviews or whatever. And so that's something that we've always tried to do. Obviously, we've had a million drummers. So if a drummer's in our band, we'll like like promote their band, their own band while they're on tour with us or whatever too.
How was it in Florida being into that kind of music? Was there places you could go, as in like local independent record stores, or was there a group of friends? Or
A lot of it was mail order. Like you would get the Lookout catalog, or there was this thing called, it was BMG Music Service. You could sign up and it was a total scam. It was like $5 for your first CD and pennies for the next ones.
We had that, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So
different name, but the same thing.
I mean, that's how I got CDs most of the time.
There are a couple
cool record stores.
There has never been a strong independent like live music scene in this area where
Tampa Bay area.
Tampa. I mean, I'm sure there are lots of talented people around here.
Yeah.
But it was never going to be a place where we could like
There's also a bit of a monopoly, to be politically correct. There's one big record store who is the one big production company who also managed the 3 big bands. So guess which local bands open for every national act? It's those 3 bands. And so it's just kind of
it just
boring.
Makes things boring. I think the city has grown a lot. But,
it's probably different now.
In the time where we grew up, it was like, there's really nothing here for us.
Yeah.
And when you recognize that there's nothing here for you, you gotta just go.
Go to a big place.
Just go somewhere else. Like, it's easy if you're young.
Yeah.
If you're like 20 years old.
We were 21 and idiots.
If you're just
delusional
you're
idiots.
Just like, you know what? We're gonna go be rock stars. Let's move to Los Angeles, man.
Is that the philosophy you had? Was you like, screw this is what we're gonna do?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, man.
It was actually partly political, because when George W. Bush beat Al Gore, we thought, well, the world's going to end. It's over. We were 21 and very dramatic. And so we're like, let's just go be in a band for a couple years and then we'll go to grad school. And we moved to LA. And that was why we were like, let's just have some fun before either the world ends or we have to grow up.
If you obsess over something, it's more likely that it's going to happen, right? And then on top of that, if you find another person.
Stalkers shouldn't take that advice.
I'm not talking about interpersonal relationships. I'm talking about driving towards a goal, right? But if you have the power of having somebody else with you that's equally obsessed with the same idea,
we definitely push each other.
Then you're just like, it makes it more likely that you could accomplish what you want to do.
It also makes it harder to quit when things get shitty.
Yeah, because there have been so many times when either of us have been like,
I'm done.
I can't do this anymore. And it's like, if I quit, I'm quitting on her.
Yeah, we can't quit on each other.
So you just look at each other and you're like, stop being such a pussy.
Yeah, that's actually something we do.
That's something we've done before.
It's Arnold Schwarzenegger.
It's an Arnold Schwarzenegger quote. But it's like, he's a very driven person. Have you ever watched Pumping Iron?
Yes. So
stop being such a pussy.
We watched that in our early days in LA, and it did help propel us. We're like, he's crazy, but
sometimes
look what he did.
It's good to have somebody tell you to stop being such a pussy, and you just go do it. Just stop being such a pussy.
Arnie
told me, and then I told her, he told her, and
I told
me,
you,
many times.
Yes.
Yeah.
Was there a point when you felt like there was some real traction?
I never felt like there was a traction, dude, because I was delusional from the very start.
It's been amazing from the start, that first time you was on stage.
It has been a slow growth, but it's always been consistent.
Because even at the beginning, we'd only played, when we moved out to LA, we'd only played 8 shows at that point.
8 shows.
That is fucking awesome that you was like, screw this, we're going to LA.
Well, we believed in the idea of the band. It was like, I knew that her voice was unique, right? And we had written some songs. And so I knew that we could write songs. And it's like, if you have a unique voice and you can write songs, well, you're already ahead of 90% of basically everybody else out there doing it.
That's a real smart way of looking at it.
Well, and I was a girl, which was unique at the time, especially there weren't very many female front girls at our level.
It was also a liability in a lot of ways. But,
I throw a mean punch. It was fine.
You have a thing that you can believe in, because it's different and you know that it's good, right? And so you got nothing to lose, man. I mean, the worst that can happen is like we put out a couple records
and then we go to grad school.
and then we go to school, or we be, whatever.
There's no what ifs.
No, there's no backup plan either, especially.
Well, at this point, it's like, I don't know. There ain't nothing else that we could do. A resume for either, well, you could do the radio thing, but
That's what the I Know How to Party song came from.
yeah.
It's like, well, what
We
can
got,
you do?
we got a song on our last record on Daydream Explosion called I Know How to Party. And that's basically because that's our resume. I mean, if we're going to fill out, I mean, I can't even do, I mean, I can do a spreadsheet if I had to.
Lewis does make really good like EPKs and does our design work.
No,
we're kind of being silly,
we've learned things over time, but it's only for the purpose of like doing it for our own thing, So like, you have to teach yourself how to do Photoshop or Illustrator
record a band
or record or whatever, but it just all comes out of necessity.
Yeah.
It's not like you go to school to learn it. It's because
it's like, oh crap, we can't afford to pay someone to do this. We better figure out how.
Yeah, it's like, man, I don't want to pay somebody like $50 an hour to record a background vocal. Like, I'm going to learn how to do that myself,
You've worked as a sign band and also a DIY band. Where do you guys feel the more comfortable? You certainly seem to thrive on your own terms.
Yeah.
Man, we've been through, we've done indie labels. We've done small indie labels, established indie labels. We were on a major label like thing for a minute, it was like a demo deal for Universal and like whatever. And so we've seen all sides of it.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I think our current situation is the perfect blend because we're pretty much like a DIY, our own band, whatever we want to do. And when we get somewhere, we can show Wicked Cool and they will probably say, yeah, we like that. We'll help you put it out. And then we have a partner and, that alleviates pressure, but it also brings us to new people, which, is the main reason to be on a label, which is why it's important for a young band. We established ourselves through Lookout and then Blackheart Records with Joan Jett. Now it's like being part of the Wicked Cool family. It's really cool because we've met even more new fans.
Well, but
because
also
of
like
the label,
like coming from where we're coming from, like we can put out a record or we can crowdsource a record. That's what we've done for a long time. Our fans are super supportive and awesome and sweet. And like, we consider them friends. Right. So if we want to do a release, we know they're going to help us like fund it or put it together. So we don't need a label, but it's because we don't need a label that it's good for us to have one, because it means that like, we're not needy. Like we can grow with a label. And if a label wants to work with us, it means that they're getting more out of it because they don't have to like develop something so much from the ground up. They can expand on what we've already got going. So, I mean, because we could do this 100% on our own, but the fact that we can do it with a label that has a similar mindset.
It's an artist's label. It's not like some experiences like when we were on the major label, that it was ridiculous.
Well,
the hoops and the changes and just these silly things.
And they can never commit. They don't work.
No.
They don't work based on feel.
No,
they work based on like
what a board meeting would agree on.
What about a different bridge for that song? Would it create more profit for the radio campaign? I just like working with people that do things based on their gut. And we've been very fortunate to kind of over time be able to navigate that better and better.
Now, Lewis, I don't know if you remember or not, but when we were out in Hollywood many, many years ago, you said someone had gave you a list of 80s films which you needed to watch.
Oh, yeah. That was called, or it is called, because I haven't finished it.
The Louis Cabezas Cinema Literacy Project.
The LLCLP. The LLCLP. Because I grew up, in a South American family and my parents never watched movies. And up until age, 33, I had never seen like Karate Kid,
Goonies, Top Gun.
I mean, basically every
Die Hard.
Movie. Yeah, all of the great 80s
all
movies.
Of them. Roadhouse.
There were certain
Footloose.
ones.
I mean, the basics.
I had only seen like Dirty Dancing because she made me watch it, which has an amazing soundtrack, by the way. And Ferris Bueller. And that's it. Like, that's it. So I got this, like, a friend of mine, Jeff Penalty. He's like a, very interesting dude. He sang in Dead Kennedys for a while, and he did the Fat Mike autobiography, something about hepatitis bathtubs. But, Jeff...
He has also been a Dollyrots drummer.
He drummed with us in Canada one time because Chris Black.
Our drummer couldn't get in.
So Jeff is just this all around very like interesting person, and he decided at some point that I needed to like watch 80s movies.
Well, he went to film school and he was tired of you not understanding references and conversations.
Well, it's like I'd watch like Family guy. And for me, it all seemed like original humor.
Like, this is so like wild and random.
Dude, it's so weird. Like, that's so random. But he was like, no, dude, that's a
movie quote.
That's a mannequin reference. Or that's, you know what I mean? Like, and so he just got tired of me like being ignorant and forced me to commit to this list of the 50 best movies of the 80s as judged by him. And so I got through 47.
Yeah,
before we
have
moved.
A few more.
We have like 3 more left on the list. I mean, it was an education. And dude, a lot of them sucked.
They sucked, some of them.
I remember you telling me like you didn't like The Breakfast Club.
Oh, yeah.
Breakfast Club was a piece of crap. It was terrible. Dude, you know, Ghostbusters was so-so.
And looking back,
you know what? I was seeing it through like adults. I'm not a grown-up really. I've never grown, but like through like realistic, without nostalgia.
What held up then?
Well, I mean, Die Hard is the best movie ever.
Die Hard.
You know,
wow.
Die Hard is, I mean, it's like right at the top of my list. I hated The Labyrinth. Goonies was okay. You know, like
I love Goonies.
he made us watch this movie called Rad.
Oh, that was terrible. The BMX
It
one.
was pretty bad.
Was Thrashing on the list?
No,
No.
it wasn't on the list. It was not.
I
on the
think
list.
he picked Rad instead of that.
Weekend at Bernie's, I thought was pretty good.
Yeah,
Like
that was good.
an okay movie. You know,
Some of them I had never seen either.
The Karate Kid was like
Good.
pretty good too, but it wasn't great. It's not like a great movie. It's not like Up Here. It's like you know, legendary movies of the 80s, like or whatever.
Kelly, what films did you grow up on then?
Oh, I was just a normal child of the 80s. Top 40 radio, you know, whatever you could get at Blockbuster Video on the weekends. You know, my parents liked movies, just popular stuff, pretty normal.
What are the kids into?
Oh, man. River, our 7-year-old son, is insane about Godzilla movies.
Like he's really looking forward to Godzilla versus Kong.
He's so excited.
Like,
He talks about it
stoked
every
about
day.
Like he's got Godzilla posters on
And then
his walls.
he's like, Mom, you're not going to root for Kong, are you? And I was like, listen, Kong's a primate, warm-blooded. You know, I feel like I love Kong. And he's like, but you have to root for Godzilla. I'm like, I don't know, man.
Do you guys remember the Godzilla cartoon?
No.
Oh, we gotta
we're gonna
look
have
it
to
up.
find
What is it
that.
on YouTube or something? Should we like?
It must be, yeah. It's from like gotta be early 80s.
Oh, boy. Okay.
There was like a cast of characters in it, and whenever there was like something they needed help with Godzilla, they pressed this red button and he came up.
What?
Oh, man.
I think
he'll
he would. I
love
think he would
that.
love that.
Like Scooby-Doo and Scrappy-Doo, there's like a mini Godzilla called Godzuki.
Oh,
No,
man.
Godzuki.
I'm so excited. We're going to have to find
We should
it.
name one of our chickens Godzuki.
Godzuki.
I'll send you a trailer for it after. Then.
Okay. Do
Yeah,
it.
send it
It's got
to
a
us.
killer theme tune. I could sing it now, but I ain't
Oh,
got
how
it.
awesome.
We should cover it. Godzuki. That's ridiculous.
Love it.
Ridiculous,
I
right?
love it. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll show it to him.
And Daisy, our daughter, she likes princesses and rainbows and unicorns.
I mean,
The mermaids.
they like animated stuff, you know,
Yeah.
but they also, you know, I mean, he's into Minecraft and like she's into like playing Barbies.
And, you know, we
you know?
started out being like, oh, let's like try and be like gender neutral, you know, not like direct them by their genders and let them find the things that they love and care about. And it's like boy, girl, like it's just so
It's
stupid.
like gun.
Yeah, I was like, Barbie.
You
It's
know,
like, I'm not
like-
buying Barbies. I'm not going to buy Barbies. And she's like, all I want is a Barbie. I'm
So
like,
now she's
damn
got
it.
like a Barbie dream house, which by
Yeah.
the way looks like a really nice place to live if
Yeah,
you
I
look
would
at
live
it like
there.
objectively.
Yeah, it's strange.
It's got a nice setup.
You mentioned just then your friend wrote a book. You guys ever thought about doing a book about your story?
We think about it, and then it's very overwhelming.
We'll have to like convince Jeff to do it.
Yeah, he's going to have to do it for us, I think.
I think that's what a lot of the people do, though, isn't it? They just sit down and do a long interview with somebody and someone.
I mean,
Yeah.
he knows most of it anyway.
He's been around for a lot of it.
He was part of the Kiss or Kill group, you know, at a certain point.
If we were to do that, I don't think we could do it ourselves because like we're just not able.
Objective.
Yeah, and we're also not able to commit to something like that. I mean, we can make music, but I think
I could,
Then you
but
do.
I don't remember it.
Did you ever keep a diary?
I did in the early days. Yep. I've got these journals, pages and pages and pages.
We have a lot. I mean, if we'd have to.
It'd be
put some
more
work-
fun to do a scrapbook.
Have you seen Sean, the White Zombie bassist, their book, I'm With the Band? Have you ever seen that?
No.
We should.
Yeah.
And that's just a photo book of like backstage passes and backstage photos and stuff.
Yeah.
It's great.
Well, that's like when you open up the Because I'm Awesome vinyl, we did a gatefold, and it's a picture of just like all these like passes and posters and pictures and all that. And I kind of feel like we could put that in book form with like just a few little sentences, you know, and I feel like that'd be just as interesting as a written
there's enough
bio.
of it. It just needs to be gone through. I mean, we got a bunch of stuff in storage that we just haven't gone through. And it's like,
Rob is a good writer.
Let's have Rob do it. You're hired. He's like, I don't want that job. We love to do that. I mean, just for the sake of being able to be forced to document it. Because sometimes like it's good to like commit to something just to like do it for yourself. Yeah.
We do have tons and tons of footage and behind the scenes videos from about, is it 2 years worth?
Yeah, whatever. I mean, we got a ton.
we have all these like mini DVD tapes that are not digitized that we probably need to.
From like the very early stuff.
Yeah. It's around when Because I'm Awesome came out. There's like the commercials and the tours and the van, and it was good times.
Does that seem a long time ago?
Oh yeah, lifetime.
Oh yeah. Well, I think it wouldn't have seemed as long like a year ago.
Yeah.
But after the year that we've all been through, I'm pretty sure like everything seems like it was a long time ago. You know, it's like it used to be like, 5 years, 10 years seems like a lot. No, like 12 months ago seems like a long time ago, you know?
How do you think things would have turned out? You said you had that cool little community in LA. Do you think things would have gone differently if you hadn't stumbled across that? That was only around for like 3 or 4 years. It's like lightning in a bottle kind of thing.
Yeah.
I don't know what would have happened really.
I think we would have hit the road, but I don't know if the music would have been as good.
I wish I'd known about that when I went to LA in around 2004, 2005, because we couldn't find any bands to go and see.
That was the exact time, and it was really making waves at that time. But like I said, I mean, just go watch the movie. It'll show you what it felt.
We kind of look like the bad guys, but
in the movie, we're kind of like the bad guys. But it really did. I mean, there's like a quote in the movie where, I don't know if it's me or somebody else says like that, you know, we felt like it was like Seattle in 1991 or something. I mean, it really was like that sort of like incubation, all of this art all at once, you know, because it wasn't just the bands and the songs and the shows and the music. It was also like
photography
and the artists and the, you know, that did the art for the records, and the hangers on that were involved in other music industry things. And like the photographers and the, you know, the people that were inspired by it. It was just a really good place to end up. And I really don't think that we could have made the types of records that we made right after or around then or so forth.
Like we were definitely inspired by that.
Just came at that right time when I know you're still super focused, but that time when you're a young band and just so super hungry, that's just kind of hit at the right time.
But just going to rock shows 3 times a week and seeing like all different sorts of stuff. I mean, just putting yourself in a position to actually watch independent music happening is just such an education, you know, that you can't get unless you're there. You know, I mean, you kind of get it if you go to YouTube or whatever.
No.
But there's something about being there. And
you learn about live sound. You learn about like
all your senses getting it. There's a musty feel.
You learn how to set up a merch table. You know, like there are a lot of aspects to being a band that are not the onstage part. And there's no way to learn that unless you go and you watch people do it.
You learn how to be functional on 5 shots of vodka.
Well, or try.
But I mean, that's basically,
Oh, the vodka frenzy days. They were whiskey frenzy for me. The old days.
I think it's good. Anybody who wants to commit to being in a band, I think the primary thing when you're starting out is to go watch other bands.
Watch bands and tour, because you have to learn on tour.
And when you watch other bands, the more that you watch them, the more that like you gain a knowledge of like what works and what doesn't. And then you also get some, you know, you enhance your taste in music. You know, it just makes you better. And
also learn a million other things, like you said earlier on. You gotta have to be good at everything.
Yeah.
Yep. Otherwise, forget it. Don't do music. Do something else.
Is there anything that you've done looking back now, particularly now as your parents, where you've thought, holy shit, I can't believe we did that? What was we thinking?
All of it.
Not necessarily like crazy rock and roll things, but just the fact that you just kind of upsticked and moved to LA and...
Guess how much money we had $1,800.
Like, I would never let our kids move across the country with $1,800.
That's all we had.
To their name. That's it.
We had $1,800.
That won't even pay for
and
like
a car.
Security deposit.
Like,
You know,
we ate
it's
peanut butter and jelly. It was so crazy to do that. And they were upset. Lewis's mom and my dad were most upset. My mom was like, follow your passions. And now I know that they would have come to rescue us. But at that time, we didn't think that. We thought that they were heartbroken and angry.
No, they would never allow us to whatever. We're lucky to have parents that hated what we were doing, but they didn't want us to like die in a gutter.
Yeah.
I do think that, like, especially if you're younger and you don't have anyone depending on you, you're allowed to be a little fanciful and naive.
You should be.
And driven, because if you're not a little bit delusional, you're not going to get to where you want to go.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, if you don't believe it, no one's
like,
gonna believe it.
If you don't have like a little star that you're shooting towards, and you're just blinders, and you're gonna do it whether or not anybody else believes in you. Well, maybe you got somebody.
It helps to have a partner in crime.
But unless you almost psychotically delusional about your crazy idea, it ain't ever gonna happen, man. That's all.
I love it, guys. Thank you ever so much. I've loved seeing you.
Oh,
Good to
miss
see
you.
Rob.
We should do one of these, you and Jane, and we'll just show each other like our pets and children and stuff.
And our chickens.
Yeah, I gotta bring the chicken. All right, love you, Rob.
All right, you take care. Hopefully see you soon.
Bye.
Cause she's got to go. Set it free like a cage down a machine. Yeah, she's got to go. Set it free like an animal. Just in the lock, open the door. Just walk outside, get in the car. Go where you want and find your freedom. Just in the lock, open the door. Just walk outside, get in the car. Go where you want and find your freedom.
Thanks so much to Kelly and Lewis of the Dollyrots for taking some time to talk with me here on the Straight to Video podcast. You can catch them live in the UK when they return with Bowling for Soup and Lit next year for the Surf the UK tour, which will be taken in venues all along the UK coast. Tickets are available through all the usual online ticket outlets, but for all Dollyrots related goodness, simply visit dollyrots.com, where you can browse and buy an amazing collection of music and merch. So go fill your boots and help support one of the best DIY bands out there. Thanks as always from me for the support of this show. Please be sure to catch up with all previous episodes at stvpod.com. You can also listen to some straight to video music and watch some videos. And if you'd like to support the show a little more, there's a support page where you can buy me a coffee, which allows you to chuck a couple of quid towards the ongoing building and growth of this show, which is massively appreciated. Thanks to all those who've done that so far. It kind of blows my mind a little. For now though, that's all for this episode. I hope things are great with you out there, and I'll speak to you all again soon.